everyone! Welcome to the channel dedicated to sharing the profound insights and wisdom of Andromedan contactee Alex Collier. If you're new here, you're in for a journey that expands your mind and consciousness, bringing you closer to understanding the messages from the fifth density Andromedan extraterrestrials. For those returning, we're grateful for your continued support. Before we dive into today's enlightening content, we have a small favor to ask. If you find value in the knowledge shared in this video, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to our channel, and clicking the bell icon so you never miss an update. Your engagement helps us amplify Alex Collier's message, allowing us to reach a larger audience with these vital messages. We'd also love to hear from you, so please engage with the comments below. Whether it's a question, your thoughts, or even just an emoji for the sake of engagement, every comment counts. We read every single comment, and your feedback is incredibly valuable to us. Additionally, if you'd like to support us further, consider giving a super thanks tip by clicking the heart with the $sign. This small gesture allows us to continue bringing you more of Alex's messages, unfiltered and directly from his lifelong experiences with the Andromedans. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy today's video.
Ladies and gentlemen, hi. It's been an interesting week here in the States. We're going to be talking about the changing narrative regarding ETs, but first we're going to talk about current stat. You can't believe how much is going on. Of course, there's what we see in the media. That hosts circus, and that's what it is. It's a circus, and for a large part, it's meant to distract, and for an even larger part, it's meant to distract. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on here in the United States. We are having a lot of blackouts. According to military intelligence sources, someone or someones are probing the national grid. New York City is just one example. There have been 4 in Atlanta, 7 in Florida. They've been happening all over the United States, including Los Angeles. It's just that for some reason the media isn't covering all of it, but they're happening all over. Chicago, there are these blackouts that cannot be explained. In Europe, those of you who are there, you're having your own problems. And I'm not sure hardly any of you even know about it. For example, in 2016, 24 satellites were put up in space called the Galileo Global Navigation Satellite System. Well, that system's been down since Sunday, and no one has any idea why. They don't know why they're off. They don't know why they won't respond. No one knows for sure if they've been hacked or compromised. But with people who are trying to log into it, they're being told it's not usable, not available, undergoing testing, or use it at your own discretion. So there's a lot of interesting things going on. Now, we hear all the theories, the Chinese, the Russians, the Iranians. No one is saying the cabal. It could be any one of the above. So just be aware, there's just a lot of things going on in the background. Typically, when they work so hard to get your attention in one place, with just nonsense and ridiculousness, there's a whole lot of other things going on they clearly don't want you to look at. That's important stuff. Also, current stat. I don't know if people have noticed, at least here in the States, but for the last few weeks, there have been very, very few chemtrails. I understand that this is actually going on worldwide, but I'm here in the States, and I can pay attention to that because I have access to the sky myself. I also want you to be aware, and we talked about this, a year ago? We talked about this a year ago, that benevolence were at some stage going to actively intervene and begin helping us clean our environment. I want you to know that the cleaning of the oceans of the radiation and other harmful chemicals has earnestly begun. In fact, my understanding is it's been going for a couple of weeks now. The Gulf of Mexico is an area that they are just beginning to work on. This is a concerted effort, from what I understand. And the focus on the Gulf of Mexico is to see, they first have to clean it before they can jumpstart the Atlantic Stream, the Gulf Stream. In large part, that has not been working for years, as some of you may be aware. That is contributing to the strange weather that we're having all over the Northern Hemisphere. So that I want you to know that that's all begun in earnest. You will probably start hearing about it at some point. It'll be mentioned where, wow, the test results are different now. Something miraculous is happening in here and there. Fish are migrating the way they're supposed to. You'll begin to start hearing about some of this. Okay? You should also start to begin to hear about the cleaning of the water and our air. We'll just have to see how long it takes for all of that to develop. But it has begun, and I told you a year ago, I think at least, that was going to occur. I'm sure it was a year ago. It could have been longer. I don't watch the webinars. I haven't watched a single one of them, frankly. So that's important to know. It's also important to know that the quarantine of our solar system now encompasses fourth dimension. In other words, we have a lot of help. And it's interesting. What's interesting is as soon as the benevolence really began to exert themselves. Now, that's not to say that our Space Force isn't working in conjunction with, because that would in fact be a reality. It's all about mentoring. Whatever the benevolence do, it's all about participation. You created the problems, or your races did, or some of your races did. Therefore, you need to be involved in order to help us stabilize the situation and or heal and restore back to its original state, its natural state. So there would be, on some level, a symbiotic relationship. Everybody would be working together towards a specific goal. Now, this is probably the reason why the narrative regarding extraterrestrials is changing. Now, as you all know, those of you who have been studying exopolitics for years and years and years, or have been seeing ships following the phenomena, for the last 70 years, We were all kooks, nuts, crackpots, etc., etc., etc. Now suddenly that's changed. And what's interesting is how they decided to change it was making sure that the military was that a military narrative was created first. And where the Navy and et cetera, are now talking about this. Air Force pilots are now coming forward. But of course, around the world, other pilots and other military services have openly talked about this, but not here in the States per se. But now it's becoming more and more open, and it's more and more acceptable. You have, I think at last count, at least 1 million people wanting to storm Area 51. That's interesting. And if that should happen, it'll be interesting to see the military's response to that. Because, they know what's there. And now they know that we know what's there. So it'll be really interesting to see how they deal with that particular situation, should it even actually occur. Now understand, as this all begins to come out, more and more people are going to awaken. And what they're going to awaken to is the fact that, one, we've never been alone. Two, it's most of the shit that we've been told over the years about UFOs, extraterrestrials, life in space, et cetera, has all been mostly a lie, if not an outright lie. And then when it comes out that we have been working in conjunction with some races here on Earth, and some have been neutral, some have been extremely regressive, and those that we were working with that were regressive were so manipulative and so downright dirtbags that they became a threat to all of humanity. Now, it could be that, well, it's not a could be. As far as 20, 25 years ago, those in these special SAP, special access projects, black projects, knew that there was an issue. But we didn't have the technology. We had no way to deal with this issue. And the last thing you want to do is rock the boat when you have someone this dangerous this close to you. So other things had to be done. Other strategies had to be created. And fortunately, those opportunities to acquire a different perspective and to build a completely different type of relationship came about. It came about with our space fleet, our Space Force. Now, that has been enlightening, and that will prove to be one of the biggest benefits to humanity we could ever imagine. Because it created a scenario for the work that's been going on for several years now of removing not only this hardcore groups from different star systems that are extremely regressive, but what it did was it created a new perspective on the potentiality and the probable future of humanity. And looking back at this time when all of this comes out, we will be reading about the history of our future. Okay? Because as this information comes out, as technology begins to be released, as humanity awakens to itself, to its potentiality, to the physical, spiritual makeup of who we really are, for every enlightened mind, for everyone who wakes up out of the matrix, for a lack of a better word, this entirely controlling, manipulative mind spell that we've all been put under, we begin to focus and create a future for humanity that is nothing short of remarkable. And that is important to note. That is important to know that that is in fact a reality that we are creating every single day. Now, the fact that benevolence now have total control of dimensional space and our physical space, I know for me that for the first time in forever, I am actually having a sigh of relief. Because for years, I've had to look over my shoulder. All the time. I didn't know what was coming, who was coming, and it's very, very difficult to sleep at night, to find peace, quiet, especially when you're always worried. Many of you know exactly what I'm talking about. But my understanding is, as of a few weeks ago, those who are awakening now can awaken in a space that isn't filled with fear or concerned about repercussions. I mean, genuine repercussions, as those of us who were trailblazers have had to live with for a very, very long time. Those of us who are researchers, those who are experiencers, and shared those. And actually, you didn't even have to share the experiences that you've had, because there were not only agencies and groups that were following what the regressives were doing, but they were also watching those who had been, whether it was abducted or contacted, etc. So, where I'm going with all this is that we have absolutely turned the corner. As of the last couple of weeks, we have turned the corner. Now, I understand there's still some regressive groups left. They're small, they're on the run, and it's being dealt with. This is a good thing. Now, the enlightening of humanity is the next step. And unplugging people from the matrix is the other. Now, unplugging people from the matrix is if you were to turn off your television and cancel your newspaper subscription, or turn off the internet and never watch the mainstream media again. That is like unplugging from the matrix. You follow what I'm saying? So, I'm going to read a story, and it's a metaphor for where I'm going with this. And this is a Native American story. I believe it's Cherokee. It was originally a Cherokee story, and it's called The Story of Two Wolves. So I'm just going to read this story, okay? It's a Native American parable. An old Cherokee is teaching his grandson about life. A fight is going on inside of me, he said to the boy, and it's a terrible fight. And it is between two wolves. One is evil. He is angry, envious, sorrowful, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, full of lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. He continued, the other one is good. He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. The same fight is going on inside of you and is going on inside of every person on Mother Earth. The grandson thought about it for a minute and then asked his grandfather, Grandfather, which wolf will win? The old Cherokee simply replied, the one that you feed. Now, the one that you feed. If we were to place all the facts of life on two legal pads, and we filled those pads with all the facts, just facts, would we know everything we need to know? No, we wouldn't. Not even close. Because even though all the facts are listed down, where most of us, if not all of us, live, where we make our decisions, where we feel, they're between the facts. Okay? Most of us make our decisions based on faith, intuition, our heart, common sense. And it's the faith that makes us carry through with the decision. Most of us live in those spaces. That's where we experience joy. That's where we experience disappointment. That's where we experience heartbreak. That's where we experience loss. That's where we experience pretty much everything. It's not, we don't experience emotion with the facts. Okay, the facts are like fences. Okay, do this, don't do that. But that's not where we live. We are spiritual beings. We live in the spaces in between. And it is in those spaces in between that not only do we create reality, our own reality, and those around us, okay, but we also create the facts. Okay? The facts are just a reflection of who we are and how we think and how we perceive reality. Now, with the benevolence firmly in control, they are not going to save our asses. That is not what this is about. But what they're going to do, which is what I said years and years ago, they are going to give us an opportunity to be ourselves, to live without this horrible manipulation going on. And they're going to see who we are. They're going to see if we can step up. if we can in fact be benevolent, if we can become responsible, emotionally, spiritually, and physically responsible. They're going to watch and wait and see, once the environment's cleaned up, if we in fact can be a real solid and responsible partner with the earth. Okay? This is our moment. Our moment is coming. It may be several years from now, but our moment's coming. We're there. And for those of us who have been trailblazing, give yourself a pat on the back, but know that your best work is still in front of you. And that is sharing your experiences with the waking up process. That is sharing and mentoring the members of your own family or friends or neighbors. Because as the frequency of the planet changes from dark to light, and make no mistake about it, they are two very different frequencies. And light is present. It isn't ever going to go away. But as the dark frequency, this fear, this neurotic insanity, this abusing of humanity, when as all that horrible shit is flushed the hell out of here, those voids are going to be replaced with light. Most people have never been there. They don't know what that looks like. They may or may not have ever experienced it. And it's going to be a process. And the process of embracing the light and trusting it, especially if you've never really experienced it, has to do with acquiring trust, testing it, empowering yourself with it, and then fully embracing your human heart, your human mind, and your humanity. And based on our incredible range of emotions, the strongest place humanity is in, the strongest place humanity can place itself is in humility and service to others. Because in serving each other do we remain free. And with freedom comes responsibilities. As far as the wolves, if you're paying attention to the media, trying to get some news, some facts, it's a shitstorm. There's just no other word for it, and I apologize for the vulgarity, but it's a circus. It's just amazing to me that we get anything out of it except being stressed out, or we get anything other than being stressed out. But understand that what you're witnessing is, and I'll use this analogy, the dark and those who have been so regressive, so manipulative, so disingenuous, so dishonest, they're in quicksand and they know it. But they have been wearing their masks for so long, they refuse to take them off. They refuse to take their masks off and be vulnerable and be genuine, because that part of themselves is so encrusted with false bullshit, they can't even see it anymore. They don't even remember who they were. So that's what you're witnessing with the mainstream media, these multi-corporations, the pharmaceutical companies, okay, this old way where they've had all this control, all of this manipulative power, false power nonetheless, that they bought into. They all bought into their own press. And they can't understand why they're losing power, because they're right. They're absolutely right. Whatever they wanted to say, whatever they wanted to do, whatever they wanted to get people to believe, they were able to do it until recently. Now what they're doing isn't working. And the reason for that is that the majority of the population of the planet, their frequency has changed. They're not a match at all. And the greater number of people, the frequency has changed and it has risen. And it is getting higher with the Schumann resonance. Every time it pings, our vibration gets higher. Where these clowns, they're lost. And they have been lost for quite some time. And what you're witnessing is them sinking in quicksand, and they're reacting, they're freaking out, they're lashing out, they're projecting everything about everything on everyone else. You don't want to feed that wolf. You don't want to feed that wolf. You can have compassion for that wolf. But that wolf needs to go underneath the quicksand. It's time. It's no longer serving anyone, especially those who are supporting that dark wolf. It's not even serving them, but they're not going to see it until the very end, if at all. It's very, very important to be cognizant of what you're focusing on, because everything's changing, and it's changing really quickly. Okay, what I mean by quickly, by this time in 2025, we could be looking at a very, very, very different world. And I mean in a positive way, an incredible way. And we have to participate in that, especially those of us who have been in this movement for years and years and years. We have the experience. We have the knowledge base. We can talk the talk, because we've met all kinds of people at all different stages through our own experience of growing with this movement, within the exopolitics movement. And it's also important to note that as the military and the world governments begin to come forward with more and more information, it's very, very important to listen to the narrative. Here in the United States on July 4th, Donald Trump gave a speech in front of the Lincoln Memorial. And the weather was horrible. It rained. But he said some things about the founding of our country and about the Marines. Taking the ramparts, the airports, etc. Well, there were no airports in 1776. And of course, he knows that. Because contrary to popular belief, the guy's not an idiot. Not at all, in any way. There is a lot of coding being spoken. There is a lot of information being shared through different ciphers, words, numerology. And that information is not only to be shared with the United States and its people, but he's also talking to the rest of the world, to their militaries, to their intelligence agencies about what is going on. Because whether you like it or not, America is still at the forefront of the frontier. We've never stopped. They tried putting us down. They tried cutting off our legs. They tried to steal our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. They've tried to destroy our free will and free speech. And they have been remarkably persistent in their pursuit to take us down. But it isn't going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Okay? I have shared with you years ago about the man who spoke at the Continental Congress, urging everyone to sign the Declaration of Independence. Okay, the man up in the rafters. I have shared with you from Jefferson's own diaries about the man who walked with him the night Jefferson was really working hard to finish the Declaration of Independence. And the man gave him information. I have shared with you when the British in 1814 attacked Washington, D.C. and took over Washington and were going to burn it, all of it to the ground, and how a tornado showed up and literally not only put out the fires, but drove the British out of Washington, D.C. within hours, and they refused to return. America's been no accident. It was not an accident. It was literally a miracle, but it wasn't an accident. Okay, we have a destiny, which is why half the world wants to be here. They got to do it legally, but that's why half the world wants to be here. Okay? Because it's like no other country. It just isn't. And if we were going to have a new world order, it ought to be based on the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, in my humble opinion. Because it works, it's fair, and it doesn't chain anybody down. Yes, mistakes were made. Okay, we can debate the whole issue of slavery. But those morons that talk about this on television, they haven't done the history. They don't talk about the history that African tribes were selling other African tribes into slavery, and that it was the Dutch, the Portuguese, the Spanish, and the English who brought them over here. And we talk about the massacre of the Native Americans. That started with the English and the French, not just the Americans. There's plenty of blame to go around. Okay? We're not a perfect union. No one is. Okay? There aren't any on this planet. Otherwise, we wouldn't need to evolve, right? We'd already be there. So, everybody just needs to chill out a little bit and look at what's before us. Seriously, look at what's before us. The building and creating of an incredible future for humanity. exploring space, healing this planet, maybe colonizing others. It's all within reach. But it's only within reach if we get our shit together. And that requires all of us to mature, to become fully responsible human beings. And to understand once and for all that regardless of your creed, regardless of your race, regardless of your gender, we are a family. We are a family. And this division, all of this was planned to make sure that we would never rise again up against our wardens, the controllers, both human and non-human. For some homework, I want you to continue to look at WSO, Steve Austin, Skywatchers, Matt Rogers, and I want you to add another person to your list. And this is about the coding that I made reference to in the president's speeches and those coming from Q. Now I know there's a lot of controversy about the Q group. I personally think it's an incredible phenomenon. And until otherwise, I'm all in on Q. Okay? Absolutely all in on it. It continues to mathematically prove itself out. It just does. So, you're going to want to look at Serial, Serial, Brain 2. I don't remember what the young man's name is, but he's dialed. He is totally dialed in, and he completely understands this information, and he lays it out beautifully for you. Each of his videos are about 45 minutes long. And I want you can go back as far as you want, but to bring you right up to speed, start with July 4th, and then the last two that he's done. That will help bring you right up to speed. It's fascinating if you get nothing else out of it. You may have to listen to it a couple of times to understand the numerology and the cipher codes that are being used to share information. But it's all being done for a very, very specific reason. Okay, that's to empower those who are already awake. Some of this information shared with people who are not awake would only manifest more fear. And that's not what we need right now. We don't need to feed the dark wolf. Okay, that dark wolf needs to be drowned. Needs to go underneath the quicksand once and for all. Truth needs to prevail. And it's going to, with or without our help. Kicking and screaming, it's all going to come out at some point. And what's interesting about that is a lot of people have trouble with change. They have a hard time with change. They don't like to change. They have narrowed their vision to a very small box. And as long as they can control whatever's in that box, they're happy, they're content, they feel secure. And, okay, those are choices. Those are decisions that are made between the facts. But what happens when one of those walls is completely blown out? which is what's happening, which is what is actually happening. Because once humanity finds out what's really been going on beneath the surface and how we have been manipulated to move in a direction we were never, ever meant to go, it's going to freak some people out. It already has. But what's interesting about that is that people who fear change, they usually have to be dragged down the river of energy or river of water, however you want to look at it. To me, it's energy. When you're caught up in the stream of energy, of movement, of spirit, you are dragged, kicking and screaming, to another place, to another time. And then all of a sudden, one day, you find yourself on the shore, and you look up and the sun's shining, your family's okay, you're doing good, and you realize, oh, this is great. This is great. It's better than I thought it would ever be. The sun always shines after a storm. Always. And what we're experiencing and about to is an incredible storm. But it will pass. But we have to experience the storm, you see. Because within the storm is the destruction of the lies and the presentation of the truths. So we have to do this. We have to walk through this storm. No one will be unscathed. Everyone will be affected by it. Everyone will have perspective. And when you have perspective, and those things that we thought were facts are proven not to be real and are false, then when you make decisions between the spaces, they are far more informed than any decision you've made right now. Amazing things are happening. Now, having said that, we're going to lose some loved ones. We're going to lose friends. I just lost my best friend. And I don't say it for any kind of empathy or sympathy. It's not what I'm saying. But love the ones around you. Acknowledge the ones around you. Acknowledge yourself. Pay attention to how you feel. Okay? Because tomorrow never comes. After tomorrow, there's another tomorrow, and another tomorrow, another tomorrow. They don't actually ever really come. Okay? What you truly just have is right now, today. That's what you have. That's all we're ever going to have. So make peace with yourself, with your wolves. Make peace with your loved ones, with your exes, with your family. I know that's hard. Make peace where you can. And where you can't make peace, bless them and let it go. Wish them their highest good and let it go. Don't carry the baggage anymore. Let it all go. Because we're all going to be really busy, adapting and changing and comprehending the changes. The biggest focus for the white hats around the world is to get rid of the ETs now, the regressives. They know. And that's where the focus is. The pockets that are left is to remove them. It's also to remove the hybrid humans that they created that may or may not even have a soul. Chew on that one for a little bit. Okay, that's the next level of change. There are a lot of things we're going to have to deal with. There are going to be a million questions. I wish we were further along and we don't have to listen to all this nonsense. From the dark side, from idiots. But I guess it's all part of the process, obviously, because it's what is. And remember that, and I've said this from day one, back in the early 90s when I started to talk, you will realize and you will know that extraterrestrials, regardless of their technology and spiritual insight, are not gods. They are brothers and they are sisters. But they have a very different perspective based on who they are, where they're from, their cultures, and the longevity of their lives. It's very different than ours. But it is not better, nor is it less than ours. And nor is ours any better or any less than theirs. It's just different. They're not gods. Don't give your power away. Okay? Don't give your power away. You'll need your power. You will need your power to complete your purpose for being here in third density. You will need your power to help and mentor your children, your loved ones, your grandchildren, to be an example to them. Okay, it's called the law of consistency. We teach the youngest generation everything we know, so there is no loss of knowledge. We pass it on. We pass it on. We pass it on. All this shit about blaming the generations before, it's all been a program. It's all been a program to divide and conquer. All that's going to stop, okay, with perspective. It's all going to stop. I would love to do some questions, if there are any.
Yes.
Hey.
Good. The tech is working tonight. It's very good.
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it.
Just say. This is from Freddie. Hi, Alex. And I don't know if you covered this because I've been eating dinner. What's your take on the Storm Area 51 event?
No. I've just heard bits and pieces. I understand that there's an organizer, but you can probably find out more than I know at the moment. That's not an event I can participate in because I have some responsibilities here. I don't know how that's going to carry itself out. That's a very interesting scenario for the government to have. It really is. It's really hot out here today. I don't know how that's going to play itself out. They're certainly not going to harm and arrest 1 million people. That's not going to happen. So I'm not sure what they're going to do. We'll have to watch and see what happens. See if there's follow through.
Okay. Well, personally, I don't think they'll find anything there. It's probably in area 52, 53, 54, etc. Anyway, is from William and Stephanie Pepper, is the disclosure that's upon us now less about tin cans from other planets, so to speak, and more about a spontaneous awakening to our own true natures, which have been obscured to us through a program of trauma and cultural misdirect for thousands of years?
Did you take Evelyn Wood's speed reading class there, JP?
Shall I say that slowly?
No, I got it. I just thought it was funny. To the Peppers, yes. As far as I'm concerned, that's the most important element of this. It's about us. It's not about them. It's about us. Now, what's interesting is how we affected fourth and fifth density to create tyranny in other dimensions. Now, there are elements of that story I haven't figured out yet. I maybe have an idea, but it's only a theory. And until I can talk to M, that's all it is. It's just a theory. But if you look at the facts that we have, okay, which is we are soul, we are clearly multidimensional. Our brains, when we attach to the fetus, our soul's attached to the fetus, we give the body a template. Some of us can see 6 densities, 5, 7, 9, etc. Project Blue Brain out of Switzerland. Now, my thought is, and I talked about this 100 years ago, about how walk-ins work. The benevolence make an agreement where a soul wants to leave, and a benevolent soul will come in and carry on as them to not only fulfill its agenda, but also its own. And then there's the regressive side of this, where they bring someone to death using fear, and then they replace that body with another soul, a regressive soul. We've talked about this. It's old information. Now, is it possible, and again, this is theory, is it possible that when a negative soul takes over a body, steals it, for lack of a better word, it has access to that individual's physical brain and can see the holograph of the different dimensions? Is it possible that they were able to use this template that we have, that we create in our physical form, to find back doors and ways into other dimensions? It's a theory. It's all I have. But I spend a lot of time thinking about some of this stuff and taking it apart and reverse engineering it. How would this work? And that's kind of where I'm at. Some of you, I'm open to ideas, but I'm still trying to solve that piece of the puzzle. Okay. So, okay, another question. That was a good question, guys. I kind of went off the road there, and I did some four-wheeling with that question and answer.
Doing donuts on the lawn. Trisha is asking, do you see digital cryptocurrencies being our new financial system? Trump mentioned this in the G20 meeting.
I see it as a potential piece. I do see the blockchain working because that has been merged with the new quantum financial system. That's I think the next major shoe to drop here very soon will be the new financial system and the forgiveness of debt, a jubilee, a global jubilee. They're being they're holding their cards real close. There's a lot of things going on. I know there's a lot of money moving. But at this point, that's all I can say. Frankly, I will tell you, I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. I am. I'm seriously don't know why it hasn't happened yet. But I know they only have one shot to get this right and to lock out all the some bitches. Okay. So they're going to do it right. They'll do it right. And, humanity has no idea. Most of us, 98% of us, have no idea how to live with no debt. Living our lives chasing Peter to pay Paul. None of us know how to do that. So I'm looking forward to that experience. I can't tell you. I can square some things that I need to take care of, and people I need to take care of. So we'll see. That's all I've got on that. Do I think cryptocurrencies is the way to go? Maybe in the far future, that might be something that becomes more prominent in the forefront. But the cryptocurrencies is a system that was used for the space fleet. That was the system that they came up with in order to pay these people that were all involved in the system. Okay? And there were certain ways to convert that to cash for the crews that worked on the ground here. So more of that will be coming out. A lot of that is still extremely classified, but some of it'll be coming out at some point. I'm enjoying my freedom, so that's all I'm going to say about it. I've given you a lot already, but change is good. The changes that are coming are good. It's going to cause us to stretch within ourselves. It's going to cause us to stretch our belief systems, to reevaluate all of our belief systems. I think this is fabulous for all of us to do. Because in doing all those things, you reset yourself about how you feel about yourself. And that's a good thing. That is a good thing. You remake yourself. I mean, we do it all the time for outside reasons, world reasons that are related to how we interact outside with the outside world. But to do it for your own personal spiritual benefit and enlightenment, to me, is far more important than doing it for a job, for a movie, for a modeling career, for a music career, for a promotion, to become something you're not. You can do that for 90 days, and then you revert to who you really are. But if the change is inside, if the change is genuinely inside, then it's a permanent shift, and then you are, and you're good to go. And then you're good to go. Okay.
All right, carrying on from we've got 3 questions, all in a row. Any news on the Dinar RV? Anything on the currency reset? And will we go back to the gold-backed dollar? And if so, when?
Okay. Well, the latest rumor regarding the dinar is that it's being traded on the Forex behind the screens. The latest rumor is that it's going to be released or go live somewhere around $4.85 to $7.71. Now, at the time we invaded Iraq, when Hussein was its tyrant, the Iraqi dinar was $3.49 US. One dinar was worth $3.49 US. A lot of people don't know that. Saddam Hussein was going to go to a gold standard with the dinar. Libya, Muammar Gaddafi was going to do the same thing in Libya. And the cabal took those 2 guys out and completely hurt those countries and the citizens within, all to maintain power. So, yes, we're going to be going back to an asset-backed gold standard. I don't know if every country can do a gold standard. It could be that the G20 is going to be on a gold standard, and some of the other countries are going to be on an asset-backed. I'm not quite sure how that's going to work. Now, whether or not the United States has the gold, according to the Q group, we do. We do have the gold. But we're not having to we're not going to have to back $42 trillion in debt and $160 trillion of obligations, because there's going to be a jubilee. Every debt's going to be wiped clean and we start from zero. That doesn't mean benefits go away. That's not what it means. But most of us who have real common sense, when you hold silver, you hold gold, or you have something of real value, diamonds, jewelry, we think that's an asset, okay? Because it is, it's real. The banks, however, specifically the central banks, they looked at all this debt as an asset. Okay? So wrap your head around that. So the $42 trillion that we owed the Federal Reserve was an asset for them because they had all this control over us because we owed them the money. And that's how they looked at it, as an asset. We looked at it as a burden, as something completely unsustainable and smothering this incredible country. Well, fortunately, the White Hat saw it that way as well. And that's all going to be fixed. Between now and I think January, I think it'll be sooner, but I think between now and January, that whole plan to do the Jubilee, to do the reset, to forgive all the debt, and everybody coming online with a new currency that is real, that isn't fiat, is going to occur. I do. Because you have to get rid of the old system completely. It was an abomination. Some people benefited through it. Most did not. But it was controlling, manipulative, and it wasn't genuine at all. That's why we had wars. It was over debt. Couldn't pay your debt? Fine, we're going to invade your country. We're going to take what we feel is ours. And if you don't think bankers were behind all these wars, you need to study history. It was always about the money. Okay? It was always about the money. So, and I think the last question was, when will the reset happen? Like I told you earlier, I thought it would have happened already. But I know that they're working on it. And well, I hope it's soon. I really, really do. Here in the United States, our government's fiscal year is October 1. That's when everything resets. The calendar resets everything. I cannot imagine that they would not hit that target date. I just can't imagine they won't hit that target date. Because the administration and the White Hats have been working on this since he was sworn in. So, and I know a lot of progress has been made. There are a lot of agreements with China, Russia, Europe that have nothing to do with trade. There's a lot going on. And I want you to know, everyone's on the same page. They really are. They're all on the same page here. Thomas Paine once said, "How is it that an island can rule a continent?" How is it that one bank can rule the world and everyone on it? Right? So, okay, JP, next question. Please.
Okay, right. So, from Jane Hepperman. Hi, Alex. Keep cool. Any tool you can suggest to help quicken our connection with our higher stroke future selves? Thank you for being you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I wanted to be someone else, but they were all taken. They were all taken. No, I don't. I don't. I'm working it just like you. Some days are better than others, you know. Some days I don't make any headway. Some days I take steps back. Other days I'm taking 2 or 3 steps forward. It's a process. And I know for me, I've resigned myself to that it's just a process. And, all you can do is just keep working it and dedicate yourself to working it. Because, you're only improving yourself. Why you would even argue, or why anyone would even argue, oh, I don't have time to do it. You're only improving yourself. You have no excuse, none of us do, to not improve ourselves. So you dedicate the time and you find the time to work on you, to be genuine and authentic with yourself, to allow yourself to be vulnerable. If you can't with people, be with your animals, your pets, your cats, your dog, or your grandchildren, They all just want love, just like we do. So that was a great question. Thank you.
Yeah, how are your kittens?
Great. Trouble. Big time trouble.
Of course.
Uh-huh. And I don't know, and I don't know who to blame now, because there's two.
Exactly. You're outnumbered. So, here's a Lauren question. You have said that the average age of an Andromedan is about 2,000 years. Visayas lived to be 4,300 years.
Yes.
Now that they know that, is it possible to double their lifespan, and will they all do it? Has Morene ever talked about this?
No. No, he hasn't. So I don't have an answer to that. And I wanted to add something to webinar 83, where I talked about my experience with Visayas, where we had this moment, and I finally got who he was. And it was really the first time that I totally got who he was in totality. And I don't know if he allowed himself to be vulnerable to allow me to see, or if he projected it to me so that I could see. But I wanted to add that that was the last time I saw Visayas. That was the last time I saw him. The next thing I heard about him was that he had crossed over it was September of 98. I also lost my father in September of 98. And my ex-wife lost her father in September of 98. That was an interesting month. That was an interesting month. I couldn't wait for September to be over. Really. It's just, yeah, that was a very interesting month. But I wanted to share that was the last time I saw him. There's a lot of things I would have said that I wanted to say. I didn't get a chance to. So, and also to my dad. I didn't know my ex-wife's father. So, but anyway, life goes on, right? The flow takes you down the river, kicking and screaming. And then one day you're standing on the shore and you look up, the sun is shining and it's all good. So, all right, JP.
Through your contacts, have you been able to confirm the accounts of Admiral Byrd? If it's true, who were the beings they met?
That's a great question. That's a really great question. And it's a question that I am not at all comfortable answering. Because I'm concerned about ramifications. I have no reason to dispute his telling of his experience. I have no reason to dispute his telling of his experience. And that's the only way I can answer that question. Please, let's ask another question. Let's move on.
Okay. Convex world, no. All right. Was the concept of reincarnation removed from the Bible, or is it still in the Bible but hidden somehow?
It was removed somewhere between 590 and 614 AD. And it was removed on purpose. You have to understand that, what's also interesting about, let's deal with the reincarnation thing first. Is the Old Testament is a series of books of stories and legends that belong to many other races and cultures that were not Hebrew. They borrowed the stories. Fact. Now, as far as the New Testament goes, many of the original teachings of Christianity were absolutely identical to Buddhism. Okay? What's also interesting is that there was no teaching of crucifixion, resurrection, any of that until 615 AD. That's when the church suddenly, miraculously began teaching all of that story. Fact. Now, what does it mean? I'll leave that to your own interpretation. But those are historical facts. Those are historical facts. And one day we will know exactly what it really was. I know we will. So up until that point, and we find out for sure what happened, I believe in a higher power. I absolutely know that there's a creator, Great Spirit, Holy Spirit. Have absolutely no doubt of that. But my mind is my church. Nature is my church. And my heart is my temple. And I share that with the Creator. And that's how I walk. That's literally how I walk. Until otherwise, that's how I walk. Okay? I don't know the real story. And if I did, I don't know that I would say it. I have said, and I am on the record as saying, that the biblical Jesus in the New Testament is a composite character. I absolutely stand behind that. But who the man truly was, I don't know. I don't believe the church even knows. They were so busy creating a government and a state religion. I think they forgot. They also forgot the tenets that they were preaching to everyone about how to live and how to treat others. Because they did just the opposite. Created a banking empire that was corrupt, is corrupt. It's a government. The Catholic Church is a government. I don't mean to offend anybody, but if you actually really look at it, that's what it is. So, I worship God in my own way. And until I get that 2x4 on the side of my head that says, it ain't right, that's how I'm going. That's how I'm going. So, and I haven't gotten the 2x4 yet. At least not by her. Okay? The A's think that if we were to give gender to a god, it would be a woman. It would be a feminine principle. I don't have a problem with that either. I really don't. So just, just watch my back. That's what I keep asking. Just watch my back, please. Okay, next question.
Meanwhile, back further, what's your take on the Vedic gods? Radha, Krishna, all
They
the
were
rest of them.
extraterrestrials. They were all extraterrestrials. Some of them were Anunnaki, some of them the Nibiru, some of them from other star systems. The Dog Star. I once asked Mornay, I said, look, some of them are blue. Are they related? He goes, yes, but they're not from Zenitech. I'm like, well, where are they from? And he said, at another time. That time hasn't arrived yet. So they were extraterrestrials. No question about it. Yeah, all those stories, all those legends, all that history, it's exopolitics. It all belongs in the field of exopolitics. Okay? All of it. There's a lot going on, folks. There's a lot going on. And, I've said this many, many times over the years. Our history is remarkable. We are all going to be blown away and amazed to find out what our true history is and what it's been. And we're going to look at this bullshit they've been trying to feed us all these years, and it's rubbish. It's rubbish. It's 1% of the story. They left all the good parts out, all the best parts about who we are, what we did, what we were capable of doing, the adventures we had with the extraterrestrials, the gods, as they've been labeled. The Tower of Babel, it was humanity, our forefathers, who were building their own rocket and their own launching pad. Okay? Yeah. We were building rockets then. Nothing new under the sun. We just don't know about it because they don't want us to know about it because they want to keep us ignorant. And the more ignorant we are, the easier we are to control. Okay? But that whole paradigm is going away. It is definitely falling away. And we should let it. We don't need to help it. Just bless it and let it go. Okay, because we need to start thinking about our future, building our future, creating our future for not only ourselves, but for our loved ones. Okay, and friends, communities. The biggest whiners today in the world are those who don't want change. And the reason they don't want change is because they are clinging to power. They are clinging to power over others. So when you watch MSNBC or CNN, don't watch CNN. Just turn them off. But when you watch those news channels and you hear everybody gutter sniping everything, they're the old guard and they are clinging to power over others. Okay. Okay, I think we have time. One more question. JP?
Yeah, well, chemtrails. Any news on whether they're going to stop
Yes.
the UK and the world?
Yeah.
What's the deal? What are chemtrails? Any ideas?
It was a chemical components to manipulate, to make everyone sick. And some would say mind control. Beryllium, aluminum, nanoparticles, polymers, all kinds of stuff. Stuff that had absolutely no business ever ever being put into the sky, except to harm humanity. So, as the old guard continues to lose its power, all of that will change. Okay, all that's going to change. And I think that there's already been some movement in that direction. I've seen evidence of it here in Colorado. There have been fewer and fewer and fewer aircraft in the sky spraying. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. We have a lot to be thankful for. We have a lot to look forward to. Don't lose your faith, okay? Please don't lose your faith. We're very, very close to turning this around. The boat's already already turning, and it is not the Titanic. There isn't an iceberg ahead of us. Everything is going to be okay. It really is. And you're going to be okay. Just take care of yourselves. Honor yourselves. And remember to love those around you. Okay? Don't withhold love. Don't withhold love. It's a regret you may not ever get over with. Okay? Guys, I love you. Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you found it insightful, please like the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future updates. If you have any questions relating to today's video, please also leave them below. We read all the comments and take on board what our viewers have to say about Alex Collier's work. Remember, your support helps Alex Collier's knowledge and the messages from the Andromedans reach more people. If you'd like to support the channel even more, you can give us a super thanks tip by clicking the heart icon with a $sign. It really helps our team bring you more content. Also, be sure to visit alexcollier.org to sign up for our regular email newsletter. It's the best way to stay updated with the latest news, exclusive content, and upcoming live webinars. For the latest insights from Alex Collier, check out alexcollier.live. And if you want to explore over 250 past webinars, head over to alexcollier.tv. Thank you for being a part of this journey and supporting Alex Collier's work. We couldn't do this without you, and we're genuinely grateful for your support. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the vast mysteries of our universe. If you would like to see the Andromedan contactee Alex Collier live via video stream, we hold a live online seminar every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information on upcoming live webinars, please visit alexcollier.org.